You see this guy? He's 18.
Okay.
And he played at about an hour away from my house. And his private partner today. Yeah. His shoulders, like he's got like big legs, but his shoulders are like twice what his legs are. And it just looks like a man on a board. He's just like he throws it down. He's a legend with like this. I mean, he can shoot from the outside. He's a he stepped one way and his shoe literally exploded and sprayed his head.
Oh, so this is the monkey thing, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
So he had to sit out for a couple weeks. And the rumor was that his parents called up Mike Krzyzewski, the coach, and said Zion's not playing any more basketball. He's scheduled pro. Well, apparently Zion went above their heads and said, I want to play in the ACC championships and I want to play in the SEC. And he did. So now Virginia Tech's got to play with me.
Yeah.
Some lower school. It was a pretty easy game. And you play Liberty. Sunday. Won by 8. And then now we got to play Sunday. With Zion.
Yeah.
So he actually puts points out. He's intimidating. He's a physical player.
A massive human being and a big part of it. And he plays like usually when you see players like that, they don't play very good.
Right.
Because they're like
they're a little slow. Yeah.
I'm just so good. It's like joy and energy and like he's just all over the place. Like he's almost hyperactive, but he always has this like crazy grin on his face. Like, yeah, come on. And it's like, I want that to go my team. Yeah, but you see his picture. It's just
Well, it's funny because I don't think they ever really grasped how tall or big this guy is. From the news story about like, oh, the shoe exploded. That's true. 6'7".
yeah, and he can move like he's 6'2". He can move like he's 5'9". How much?
285.
That makes sense. I told you he's massive.
I said to my wife,
He's 1 year removed.
Oh,
that's not.
Oh, that's not real.
oh,
yeah,
there.
That's it.
But they
That's like that. That's it. He is a massive.
Yeah, my sister
his shoulders. He's just like
tours around and watches stuff.
he's so good.
Good luck.
Yeah.
It's
playing.
Oh, okay. So you watch it.
Although with the time change, I don't know what it's. I don't even see. I've been so out of traveling. I don't even know what time it is.
Are you
You'll get that date. You'll get that date.
But with it being 3 hours behind you,
Yeah. You're going to be in session.
even if it's 8 o'clock at night, it's 5 o'clock here.
Yeah.
We're still doing something.
Yeah. This is my first time doing WW.
I've never done it.
Oh, okay. She was saying that she went to check out the venue, and it sounds like this year it's all just in one area. So like everybody's.
There's no break session.
I mean, there's two breaks, like next thing they go back.
That's the thing. Last year, that's the kind of place for us to conference where okay, you can go over there if you want to hear this.
Yeah.
If this interests you, or whatever. But this year, and I've seen these issues with Catholics. And I'm like, they've got shuttles going up the hills and gold to the church.
What are you saying?
Well, I'm staying for a college.
It was
Kind of
we got to record in the studio, so you're kind of stuck in.
That's on. It's on.
So it's kind of
La Cienega and Santa Monica.
Yeah.
Well, it's technically a Holloway Drive.
Okay. Yeah, because there's like that sushi restaurant right there that you can eat.
Yes, it's right next to the beer.
Calgary.
Oh yeah, right here. Exactly.
Okay, so
90s.
yeah, it's right. I can see the sushi place in right there. Have you ever
But I
been
think also
to
the idea that
Yeah, very good. Those sandwiches are insane.
Kroger?
Well, I've never actually been there. I ordered it from it. I was just wild things. I was like, oh, it's like a sandwich. It was on this,
so you get enough.
It's just, you know, French bread.
I know. Like it was
available.
I remember my wife came here.
That's a struggle today, I think, for young people.
And we were at the Valley House.
It's just some business.
She got a crumb with ham and cheese and butter and all that stuff, but with no egg on top. And the Monsieur has the Monsieur is regular ham and egg. And I said, you know, you need to she was if you and she was eating, she's like, this is the best sandwich I've ever. It's real nice and quaint inside. But you've had the joint.
I have, yes. That's crazy. Well, it's not that crazy. I booked up in Burbank.
Yeah, I was gonna do that, but I was
nothing out there.
I wasn't expecting this, but I heard it's more like
oh, sweet.
Yes. So it's got a full kitchen, and it's got a little half bath. Like I walked into the it's like a desk area, and I've got this like walk-in closet that I set up.
Oh, nice.
And you know, I walk around, and there's like a chaise sectional, and a little futon, and on the wall, and full kitchen. And then my letters in the back, my room is like on the back side of the building, so there's like 20 feet between my room and the building and the apartment building.
Wow.
So
I love it.
So quiet.
I love it.
And I don't know how I got there. I guess they upgraded me because I stay there every time.
They probably have you on file, yeah.
It's kind of centrally located.
Yeah, I've been.
Because Fox is on Pico.
Yeah. I will.
Century. So it's easy for me to get down there. Atlas is right up on Sunday. Atlas is literally straight up La Cienega left and a couple blocks.
Find a way out of here.
Yeah, well,
and
you look downstairs
We're
over
literally
there.
going through Bloomingdale's.
Oh, you do have a car? You rent a car? Or you're saying, okay.
So you're in South Carolina?
yes.
You're not too far from, you know any South Carolina?
Yeah, he's in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Or actually, he's in
Rock Hill.
Rock Hill, yeah. Yeah, I talked to Andy.
Oh my God.
I talked to Andy quite a bit. We work together. Their channel. When I quit, 2000.
How are you, honey?
No.
Your last job was
That's what God made baseball has. So we have had.
Yeah.
See, you know, yeah. You can mix it up in fashion. No, you didn't. Just is out.
I started working with you guys.
We're not here right now, but you're not yesterday. And I'm
from San Diego. I worked
you're like,
a bunch of times. Rockefeller's was working.
oh, right.
You were all.
Yeah.
I as soon as I worked with Jay Boy for a couple of years, and he was getting merged with the for a while,
Yes.
She started voice cracking. Like out of control voice cracking. Because Randy was on the back.
So it was a small bag.
All of the people that was the radio station and go to and all of the people
The other bags were too big. I was just
Wow.
We were just talking about how we don't like soda for like neither and unless I go have
I was in a
I never buy soda at home, but if I'm out somewhere,
Oh, really?
so bad.
I was there in Dallas. They said from now on.
Oh, they're having a hard time. You get sick. It's like you have to
Wow.
So they basically cut the fish.
Yeah. They're on, right?
Yeah, they're on.
Yeah.
I used to collect them too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I was from
So my age. in Dallas. And I unfortunately had to get rehired by their job. They moved me there. I was there for
That's
7
great.
years. It was such a great, it was actually a great place to work despite all that. I was there for about 7 years.
My dogs.
For the last 2 years. I had so many voice lines that I was like,
Grandchildren, dogs, you know. Here, come here, honey. Shh. And a little bit of valerian root, too. There you go.
I had 16 years in the company. And I want to say
That's why they didn't fire you.
I had
That's why they didn't fire you.
Well, they couldn't fire me because I was rigid. And this was
What's it?
I was rigid. I was basically
Magnesium is
3 stations.
Yeah.
And it was a piece of cake. They didn't one. I did certain things every once in a while.
I need to get back on that.
And then they said, okay, we're going to kill the ratings. Maybe we should actually save the station. And at that point, I was like, I'm out of here. Because I knew what was happening. I was just like,
Did you have the job that they
yes.
Right.
Imaging. Because Andy's doing basically all the time. And yeah, I quit. Actually, where am I now?
Well, it's not this one.
While I was in Greensboro, I got to work with Kenny. I went down to help out. It's not called Channel 961. When it originally turned on, the basics.
No, probably not.
I did my lunch package and helped put it together and launch the station.
Oh, yeah.
There now.
Where is that? Really? Oh.
Bruce Gilbert. He was in Greensboro and he built
TSD.
Charlotte and CBS in Houston. It's up.
Hey, how are you?
Sunshine on my shoulder.
I found it.
I'm great.
Still walking around.
No. And I always explain, if you have cake in your house, and you have a party, you know that you're going to get X amount of dollars from this radio station.
I mentioned you know, Sean.
Sorry, Sean.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you, but
I remember.
yeah.
You might want to.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, thank you. Is that the word?
Oh, did you? That was a
Kelly
good
Grandpa, and then are you doing the summits this week?
20 minutes of time. Yeah, last night I was still thinking, do you know one so anyway, so with radio and television, I want to know that you're the next night I'll and then once it's commercial, it's a one-off.
Oh, yeah. That's where I'm headed next.
Was he good? A little bit. Okay.
No. You said by the way, going on the floodgates.
Block you from camping. They would block you from Yeah, you gotta love being around guys. Hasn't got down there. Not quite.
Yeah, it's over. No, so the it looks the same as
So if it was white noise, it would be
yeah. It was
not now. Like I feel like
obviously this, I had no idea.
I thought that I
Yes,
was
I had
far from it. Like I was on the spot and I started to make like
I said I was but not the right format.
I've only done it a couple times.
And the brand is very.
The first one I was right.
I stay in touch with him.
I see some of the weekend work.
Say it right here.
I've been up, he's had 4 places out.
Yeah.
The house, 2 cabins.
I got up and eat sand, so it's shave it,
What's that? Yes.
it runs deep and it's just frozen on the well, everyone's work. If he was American, they wouldn't care, so yeah, they wouldn't care, they wouldn't be interested.
Oh, wow.
I can see you getting shaved.
More excited.
I actually wanted to buy it.
You got to meet Sean? Oh, good. That's good. Sean's fantastic.
And then it's like WWE.
I know.
So he was actually out
Hey.
here. He was out here. Good.
More or less.
We're here for the whole day.
Yeah, we were together.
Yeah,
Fighting Mega and
we said one day.
Sean
Where's he from?
Are you still where do you work at Dallas?
I was at
Middle of the country and north and south.
Yeah, so.
I worked at Kiss and yeah. No, it's all right. I worked for KJ for 8 years. Yes, yes, she was really cool. She was doing
I love it.
her afternoons.
So much of his career is just yeah, but it's like so classic.
I know.
She was still there, and she said, yeah, we still there. But yeah, she's been down. I find that hard to believe.
Did you get your studio set up?
Just drop off parents to their
Yeah, you did that last time. It was about 100 jobs.
I love it. Canada.
I love it. And
And that's right. I remember you talked about it before. You said that you would take one of the and
I enjoy it so much. I don't have the German office. I contacted him, and that's how this started. Farm, and it was great for me.
there's a lot of work.
I have a house there.
I was going to say, like,
Those 3 stations.
I have 2 cats.
Yeah.
What's the law?
Cats just live on their own for like a month. It's a bowl of water.
Exactly. You know, so it's not like I had to get up.
I just went and hung out.
Just me scrambling around trying to get out of there. I haven't traveled in a while.
Yeah.
Get out of the habit.
And now it's like,
Yeah.
I get back to this now. But it's like, so I have
History of it.
Social Security. And it sounds like it's really Judges and doesn't like stories of dogs that disappear. Taking these dogs and young dogs. Yeah, it's major. Like where they're looking dogs and running around. Oh, it's horrible. So I'm hoping that doesn't unfold. And you know what's funny? When I was young, and this is all through Central over when I was young, some guys, one of these guys was and he had this dog that was a killer, you know, but it was also couldn't put it anywhere near an animal. It was oh, I got a big half down his face with all the scar like this. But he was a monster. Yeah. And the first story I remember
On this side of the house,
so anyway, this guy, his dog came over and put his hand on his head. The dog had retired. He had 2 young children. dog loved it. But the dog went down the alley.
It's two spots in
It's
town.
one of those,
It's 2 spots in town.
It's regular.
2 spots in town. That's down off on Table School. Whatever. 2 spots in town.
Yes, yeah. I was thinking of the freelance but it was just what a terrible story, and it was so much I never saw any more than that. But it was just like, again, anyway, it sounds like it's really big. It sounds like it's really the story of anticipation. Years and years. Yeah. So, I was thinking these dogs, like, they're not going to live, and having fun, and then these guys, they showed a bunch of, like, things. Yeah, I didn't know they're going to be living and stuff. 2,000 people there. Yeah. I just hate stuff like that. Well, and you got the collection that seems to continue to grow. You got space for it. I love the that's his last name. His last name is hang out, right? Because they used to be basically I was really get super cool. Get a little snow. Like natural.
Yes.
Sorry. I'm sorry. I live here. I live on the west side of Los Angeles. Hi, Thompson. Enjoy your lunch. Don't stop chewing on my
Minus 40 is the same.
Okay, are you flying in, or are you coming from far away? Or what?
But they don't look like the animals that are in the
This gentleman and I go way back.
Yeah.
A lot of them I met when they were still in radio. Now we're supposed to get the memo.
Is that a requirement? We have to be on radio?
Well, no, it's the question like, can we still in radio? Like, what?
Yeah.
I have some friends who are
His
passion. It's just so funny. He had such allergy.
Well, they keep waiting to be fired, so
There's no way they get out.
but,
Now he's got
the
dogs.
other person that worked
But he's got this, and he's got,
voiceover says the
well,
same
last
thing.
one was like, he's got like,
But my feeling is, I know a couple of people who still with production directors, it's much around their town, mainly the production, where they can run down the hall.
Greg, he's, I said, yeah, they're pets. They're pets. Well, yeah, he's.
Stu or at DG, Gary Forbes, he just runs around
Right, like,
himself.
and lots of them, he's not.
Does very well.
Superb shape. He's got
But,
his chest is actually cool.
you know, if you can, it's a lot of pressure. Everybody wants you.
woman.
Yeah, it is a lot of work. I just did
Mine,
obviously,
normally,
And it was like unbelievable.
I know, I've resisted it all my life.
Today,
My best.
mucking the stalls and the whole bit, right? And it's like,
I actually
there's a
have,
lot of
I
work.
actually paid for one.
So I know a couple of people
Well, I have, you know,
to
other
live there for a
health
year
related.
too. Because that's what I told them. And then this morning the email went out and said
I have somebody who
12:30,
loves
so
it.
we're just waiting until
Somebody, I have somebody like
just a
that.
few more people.
Yeah, it's.
So yeah, so it must take a long pre-work. Yeah.
Starting.
Just for me now.
Yeah, that's
It's
the
always
email I
right
sent
from me.
out.
Right.
When we
Because I mean, I live in the
started
city.
here,
and-
it said 12:30, and I'm like, oops, a lot of people are still in
You
the
know,
air.
make sure there's, you know, pain medicines, there's needed,
Yeah.
you know, for daughters
Yeah.
and for
Yeah.
animals.
I think Steve Stone is tonight.
And how much?
Yeah, because but he's on a panel too.
Just under 20.
Yeah,
Wow.
But I mean, his whole
It's,
concentration was
weddings and
on
bar
the
mitzvahs.
forces they got. It was going around.
Yeah.
Somebody
yeah.
had a
But they
dinner.
were like, they have a party.
Organs,
Yeah,
yeah.
so it's funny, every so often they'll stop and
Do the pose,
the hell are you doing? And it's like, a couple of times I tried to get the picture where it's almost like they wait for the light to get right.
We did your cricket.
Yeah.
Because I saw the overview at
So they ended up moving in the country. I grew up, when I went out there, it was you know, kind of sex way, right? You know,
There were some technical difficulties.
I just remember reading the Bible, no kidding. This was a master. It was smart. And smart.
Well, they cut you off in 6 hours, so he got numbers. He was successful.
He was 554.
That's a win. That was a very right. Tom Seaver talked about it. He had a great rate on it. Like a same thing.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. It just gets way more the older I get. Run around because when you're as soon as possible, you've got them up running around. Yeah, it's quite funny. And it's kind of cool. And it's like I think you just kind of like a nice
The next day, we're jailed for 5 hours.
And then I closed the door and put on my earphones.
And do you have different reviews? Okay. Does that work?
Yeah.
So you have like these, do you do
I just started.
And they hired us. But I can make it better. The station signed off. I came in 2 weeks later. And I was also
even all the things very when they signed off to and I did all the time.
I love that.
In the studio, playing with
stuff.
So many signals at once.
Yeah.
Oh, I did the software.
I know, it's straight better be committed to the opposite. If you quit it, you'd be like, why do I have more?
Yes,
that's not like conversation.
But I've always
Mine lives on my screen. Mine lives on my screen. Like, I was right. Yep. Oh yeah.
There's a guy in the poster.
Oh my God.
He actually just got fired.
I was more shopping. When I was 15, that's when I met used to be the CEO. And now,
he's doing more around the professional sport, and that's the whole work.
oh, right.
So as you went to cut the cake, whatever you want to work. Oh my God, it was wrapped up in sauce. It was the nicest stuff we'd ever seen.
Just did, let you know.
I love it. I don't know. Modern surprises. It didn't matter. That's weird.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Some ads I always let them just
I remember you were Gary Owens said it's
But
I want to
that's the thing, we have to get a lot of
everybody on
You all ready?
Oh, we got about 10 minutes. Some people are timing their arrival.
Oh, timing their arrival. Wow. Okay, got it.
I hope
They're brand new.
the band is ready.
star when I was a
So
child.
anyway,
I didn't
said
think
that
it was
she
'96 to 2000. When you fell
Well, you know, I thought about maybe going to the Scientology version. Because they have that whole thing against they're against like psych medication. They have a whole thing dedicated to how it's bad for you when it comes to because they might get
They'll hook you into something. Make it pay.
it's amazing, man. Everybody gets to leave, and just watch the Weird Rescue show on A&E, right? Because I'm like fascinated with it. And I'm just like, I'm actually just quick one. Just the live stream.
That guy was awesome.
Well, that's when San Diego.
So with comedy sports, you could raise money.
I worked at the smallest location.
Class
Another one was our cluster was by the time I left, we had to run.
Yeah.
3 or 4 of them.
We were not affected. Some of the gowns had to be $15,000, $20,000. I'm talking field money. Not everybody knows about that. But Nancy is a scientist. Oh no, you know what it went? I went. Yeah, I got invited to the event. I've been to her home. She was she's totally nice.
San Diego, Hawaii, Miami, right?
I've been to her home.
I
love the Sun Belt. He doesn't know.
They're very much into
New York.
charity.
You're inside all the time.
Everything is charity.
Yeah, I saw Rick.
So, anyway, my other story was a psychologist who said, $110,000 just one of my talent people. That's why he does. This was in 2009.
So I went and saw
But the person they picked didn't live there, so you had to try out. They do. You don't remember the term.
Oh, you did.
You know, if there's a technical issue. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, this guy finally decided to go anything else for them, and he tried to get out of the deal. I said, you cannot. Do not do that, because you do not know these people. And they were trying to turn him. And then he made the go sessions.
It's like 5 or 6 days.
As he got weirder towards the end.
He's trying to pick up
Well, who's the director that was involved in that? Major director. And he said, or did he have to demos the books after the first, second, third, and drinks? No, that other stuff. You would have never been.
Well, I just never loved it.
Dancing confused when you see people that you know from different parts of your
I
life.
get off the summer.
It takes you a minute to calibrate.
If you're part of this, you're out of context. They
So about 3 or 4 weeks ago, I was at a radio station. And that's where they live. Yes, that's when I went with it. And when I moved, so we're just refreshing his voiceover. The kids have got about 5 minutes. I would have said anymore until they really get hands-on and they want to stay where they are and they want to work. So they were, yes, still there. We ran into each other at the
country radio seminar in Nashville. And that's when we set up coming out for the radio thing. Actually, he was going to go to voiceover. And I kind of wanted to stay. They said that's like going back to nursery school. Everywhere, yeah. You know. She was when it was you're right. Yeah, you're past it. If you're the smartest person, covering broadcasters. Nothing positive. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of people say, it's wonderful and I learned so much. Well, great. So I'm glad you got your money back. But the fact is,
these are the only options. Like, they don't have any.
Right, it's much more.
There's its voice, that's voiceover. This is, what's his name? He's a black guy also. Gerald Griffin. This is he invented it.
Close.
Are we ready?
The same time.
Bobby? Oh, Sam? I think, yeah. Jim was at lunch. And I told her he could do chocolate soup there. Oh, fun. I know. He can do that everywhere. Yeah, a long time ago. I either could go or chocolate.
Well, yeah, no.
It's from the office.
Do you margarita mayonnaise as well?
You wouldn't be working on Tuesdays. No way. That was it. Oh my gosh. Someone else
It's for trouble.
No, that is.
Not a lot of sugar, women.
No, I know. I'm so drink too much.
Right.
Okay.
What do you think about tequila?
You know what?
Just by itself or
As I
margarita?
say, they could be really
Margarita's
dry cleaners.
Well, yes.
It doesn't matter. It's not the
Hey, how are you, man? You got us for that long time. How you doing, my wife Taylor? Hi, Debbie, Jason Coleman. How are you?
Oh my God! Yeah, I know your name.
How are you? Yes, this is my wife Taylor. This is Debbie Coe. Pardon me?
Did you work with us at one time?
Just for
When you were
too brief of a period.
Hi. Hey, nice to meet you too. Are you back here living in LA?
Me?
Yes. Oh, maybe. Yeah. Just ask. It's TBD.
The winds have changed.
Okay.
Hey, Sean. Nice. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So everyone's seeing it.
Somebody there.
Later on. Just when you think you get away with wearing that way.
Sorry. Thank you, Dave.
Strategizing on the go on.
Thank you.
I'm Brendan.
First name, last name.
Yeah.
Don't leave me hanging.
Brian Cooney does security. Did you just do Cooney?
That's what I've been using it on.
Beyonce. He's already here. know what he's doing today, but he'll be yeah.
With my the Burbank section.
Oh, we were talking about my alarms. Well, you know, I've added.
Oh my gosh. You know, I had somebody ask me if they were
You know, I did, and then I
Still the already terminal building. Well, the people, same number of days. But those are bigger buildings.
But I'll so like tomorrow it's on my alarms. I'll do this one.
I read through You decided and this is gone.
I was in Sydney. Most of
For a visit
over the long came back on the 16th.
How much?
Yeah.
I gotta go to Burbank. It's 10 minutes from home.
2 days before that. Probably wouldn't have let us out.
Whole town. Son was there in the last 15 years.
We went up to an area where the valley, where they had hot
That's place called right away.
right. I saw that. That's one of the signs.
Yeah, but that's the hot spring right now. It's so
Mine was so very exciting.
So you did a cruise around?
Yeah, I did. It was so many times.
And then did the cruise go down to Hobart? New Zealand?
No, we started in Auckland.
Yeah.
To Auckland.
Could it be? Yeah. Hobart's a beautiful city where you're very English. There's a lot of
The buildings were like the architecture. We went out to the sanctuary where the kangaroos were. Had those things. I think that's you jump at the first. They are.
Maurice, you weren't kidding. It was going to this facility.
So, anyway.
So he's director of
Yes.
Come on, Sean.
It's hard.
Okay.
Hey guys, we're gonna get started. Thank you so much for coming to our Keeping It Fresh 2.0. Unfortunately, last year I was out of town. I was in Scotland, and so I wasn't able to see.
Yeah, what a sad
It,
thing
it was incredibly sad, but it's. I met Maurice, I guess, about 2 years ago now,
Yeah.
not very long ago.
No.
And we met. Where did we meet?
We met at the radio summit. Roberta Solomon introduced us.
Okay.
And you said to me, I know you. And I said, I know you. And then you said, where do you live? And well, I'll get up. And you said, where do you live? And I said, here. And he said, let's have lunch. And I wasn't prepared for the question you asked me when we sat down to lunch. You said, how can we work together? And I thought, okay. And then I said, well, for the radio summit, people come from absolutely everywhere. How many have been to your offices? And as you can see, it's like a cool place to be. And I said, why don't we do something? And that's when we did this event last year for the first time. And we got nice feedback. And so here we are again. And in the interim, we've been working on some projects together. And who knows what will scare up in the meantime. And it's just very exciting. I work in all areas of voiceover. A lot of my clients over the years have either come out of radio, broadcasting, still doing radio imaging and so forth. But I didn't get to really get to know the business as well as I know it now. And I'm just scratching the surface until we met. And it's a whole nother world. And my feeling is if your talent, particularly, having a lot of chips on the table is a good thing. And activity breeds activity, and as we get into, this is like a mini session of what I do on my weekends and when I'm working with people privately. And what it shows you is what I say to one person about whatever it is they're reading, I could say to the group, because there are certain pitfalls, certain habits that you get into that it's indigenous to everyone. And so we have a hugely cross-pollinated group here. We are officially international because we have two gentlemen from Melbourne. I don't want to embarrass you, but we're so excited to have you.
We do a good enough job of that ourselves.
Do we have actually?
That's the perfect Australian sense of humor.
I would love to
Right
play.
there.
Do we have BT's promo? Could we put that up really quick? So BT is our Iron Imager Challenger,
I heard.
and he competed with, we had over about 40 or 50 submissions this year.
Okay.
And so he had the winning submission. He's an incredible imaging director. He works at Triple M, which is a gigantic rock network all throughout Australia. And his writing is just fantastic, and this promo is great, and so I'm hoping they can pull it up and play it for you. I'm sorry to put you two on the spot to get that up, but he's also does quite a bit of voiceover along with his counterpart Dom over there in Australia. They create some terrific radio that I wish we did more of here in the States, candidly.
Well, we can start, you know.
Really talented guys. But back to when I met Maurice and why she's so freaking good at what you do is just exactly what she stood up here. She's captivating, and like I'm just spellbound every time you speak, just
No
watching
pressure.
you do what you do. I really think, just by the way, this is my own experiences sitting with you. Yes, you're an amazing voiceover coach, but you're like a guru to me. You're someone who I just want to have around because you make me feel comfortable. You make me feel just safe in my own
I think
skin.
I'll leave now because this is as good as this is the high point.
I don't do voiceover. I come obviously from the programming side, as Jason knows, and I was on the air a little bit like fill-in or as a sidekick, but I'm not an on-air talent. I'm not a voiceover talent, but I've been around VO people a lot, and you just bring out the best, I think, in people. And so having her here is a huge honor, and just being your friend, and having her here to share her expertise. I know many of you have been into her sessions, but how many of you have not? Sean, all right, cool. So we've got 3 or 4 people first time, which is terrific.
So when you sat in on the session in Nashville, was that the first time you actually saw me do what it's called the voice whispering?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the first time I've heard you do it.
Okay. I thought so, because the look on your face, I thought, oh, this is...
If I, no joke, if I were wealthy enough or a big celebrity or politician, I would hire you just to be like my body person, is what they call it. Just my person that would be with me all the time to just help me and to coach me.
I feel yes, I thought that.
Well, fortunately, there's the internet, so we can do that.
Were we able to find BTs? All right, we'll play this for you. Oh, was that it? All right, here we go. Let's try this.
Come in. Yeah, what do you want to say to me about, Fritzy? Yeah, that little N-word you dropped on air yesterday. What? Nickel back? Don't say it again. There's nothing wrong with saying nickel back. You can no longer say the N-word. It's not 2005 anymore. The world's gone mad. Next you'll tell me I can't say the C-word. No damn well we can't say cock play. Now get out of my Oh, just checking. Can I still use the F-word? Foo Fighters? Yeah.
This thing's blowing me away, really. Oh, like Rolling Stones, Pearl Jam, Queen. Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world go round.
The A to Z of rock's greatest hits, including N, and C. Triple A.
So good.
Yeah. It was just great writing, and I think just very funny and well done. So very happy to have you.
Thanks, Judge.
Yeah. I'm going to hand it over to you
Okay,
now.
thank
All
you.
right.
So a little aside about, I've been to Australia about 4 times now, and each time I come back and I just can't say enough good things. People say, well, what is it? What is it? And I said, it's an entire country in a good mood. I mean, from the moment you arrive, it's just party time. And a lot of, they have, the buses run on time and things happen, real life happens. But there's such an exuberance to celebrating the moment, living in the moment. And I think that's something we need to be reminded of. So thank you all for coming today. A lot of people, we've gone through your whole career up until this moment in time. It's so exciting to see you. And part of what this is all about is the ability to just get together and talk shop and talk to somebody who actually gets what it is you do. Because I don't care how close you are to your significant other, your husband, your wife, your whatever, your family, they don't get it. They don't understand. And of course, it looks like you're having way too much fun. And the people who work with you think you make too much money. And so there's a lot of, not that you can't celebrate, but with this group or the people you're going to see this week or any gathering like this, really celebrate the fact you're getting to do what you want with your career. You're getting to work from your gift, your talent, and your sense of humor and your sense of fun. And as difficult as the business can be, you have to decide that it could be worse and there could be even more people pursuing the work. And cream rises to the top, and some of the nicest, closest friends I've ever had have come out of my working with people in this business. And the radio world particularly, an agent said to me about 2 years ago, she had just taken over the radio for her agency, and she said, if I had any idea radio was this much fun, I would have done it years ago. And so I said, well, don't tell too many people. So what I want to do is just give you and those beaming in, do we have about, let me say hello to the people who are
Hi there.
We have 9 people watching at the moment.
Wow, okay, thank you. If you have any questions, one of the things that I am happy to do, as you know, picayune as it can be, or as grand a question or whatever, is that you don't necessarily get to hear from people who are on the front line what the day-to-day reality of the business is. And you know, what I often will point out to you, in terms of storytelling, there is actually one and only one villain. It's the villain in life, and it's the villain in every story. And that villain is time. Every story accelerates after the second act. Every life starts some sort of introspection. Every business goes through a kind of assessment. So coming out of the second act into the third act, and a lot of people that I work with, because my focus is the established working professional. As exciting as it can be to work with newcomers, I find working with established performers more challenging. It's trickier because there's a lot on the line. You've got a lot that you've established, and we're always looking at what just a little shift in the prism can do to refresh, which is why we're calling this event Keeping It Fresh. Because as you get very successful in your work, what happens is a lot of monotony can set in, particularly because now, you at home know this because you're sitting at home, is that the isolation. And creative people tend to be social, want to be social. And yet the social aspect of this business has disappeared. And so you really have to be your own champions, your own cheerleaders, and keeping it fresh is really the challenge. When you get really, really good at something, it's very easy to phone it in. And I remember years ago, I went to lunch with the woman who was Ernie Anderson's agent for many years. Well, most of his career, wouldn't you say, Debbie? Debbie Cope, who invented voiceover management, is with us today. And she worked at SBV, so she knew Ernie. And Rita had said to me at one point, because I had worked with Ernie when I first came out here, Ernie had been the voice of NBC, right? ABC, and yes, of course. And it was the Love Boat, and you know, it was those just rich, deep pipes, and he was a character, and to say the least. And she said to me, I don't know if he'd work with you, but something's going on with him. I don't know what it is. I said, he's imitating himself. And there's a period of time where you just go on automatic, and you can phone it in. And a lot of people who are working with you don't know what it is that isn't quite working. They can't necessarily put their finger on it, but they know it isn't what it was before. And it's up to you to notice when you're starting to go into booth burnout, or to just be worn out from the pressure of time. You know, gotta get it done, the volume that comes to you, the speed with which you have to turn everything around. But remember that every read is the first read for the audience. So there are a couple of little sayings that you could put on a needlepoint pillow, and I'll be throwing them out throughout the session. And that's one, every read is the read. The other is, if you work in other areas outside of radio imaging, with radio imaging, you lay it down and it gets produced. So you're laying down bookable reads all the time. In other areas of voiceover, sometimes people will have, well, it's just an audition. And I said for years, just an audition, that's how you get to the session. And the audition is the job. Now, more and more and more, whether you're doing voiceover or promo or anything, if they don't change the copy itself, if there isn't a rewrite, or alter the time, they can easily use the audition. So you have to adjust your thinking that every time you address the mic, you're going to work. And then eliminated is the half-life of, well, it was just an audition. There's no such thing. And that keeps your work at that level, the high bar for yourself. And you know what it's like when you know it's for real. Is a difference in the way in which you address the material and the way that you perform. And whatever that feels like is the mode you have to be in all the time. There are oceans of people who have been taught erroneously that it's just reading. And what they're doing is watering down, obviously, the arena for the amount of work that can come to you. So you're working more for less, but you're still doing what you love, I hope. You know, somebody said to me, this is a chosen profession, isn't it? And I said, well, yeah. And they said, why is there so much suffering? Well, part of that is, you know, the saying, don't hate me because I'm beautiful. You know, don't hate me because I'm successful. You know, you don't know, and so forth. And there's a tendency to kind of buy it back, to not celebrate the fact that you're doing something that you love and it's so much fun and it's so rewarding when clients just love what you do. But the fact of the matter is that not, you know, in the general population, very few people are doing this. They're delaying that joy. They're delaying what they want to do. You know, when the kids are out of school and they can retire and so forth. And you've been able to do this throughout your life. So what you do when you find yourself going into a certain malaise about your work, play your demos, you know, and really remember who you are to the industry. And for as many people as competing, it's still a small percentage of people who are on the planet. So when somebody says to me, well, I booked something, and I go, great, well, it was just, you know, a radio spot for something, and I said, okay, out of all the people in the world, they picked you. Oh, I never thought of it that way. Well, that's exactly what it is. Of all the people in the world, they've picked you. And they keep coming back for more. Wow. So, you know, live in gratitude, live in an acknowledgement of the rarefied air that you're breathing. And the challenges are just what makes it that much more exclusive. So try and flip it as much as you can, because the state of mind is the state of your work. The voice is the matter. Oh, straight from the airport. Come join us, gentlemen. We just got started.
Hey. Neil Wilson and Drake Donovan.
Okay, okay. So what I'd like to do is just quickly go around the group, introduce yourself and where you're from so that we can all get a feeling for the fact that we have a cross-section of the voice over industry right here today. And that, you know, if something happened outside, we could continue serving the entire industry. And so each one of you, your careers can be similar in some ways, but everyone's career is very different because you're different. And in the great scheme of things, as time has gone on, where the industry, just in terms of what they want, more than ever before, they want you. Which may sound simplistic, but there was a time where your own personality wanted to take a seat on the bench and you wanted to sound like the guy or the gal on the radio. There was a way to be. There was an attitude and a style. And what I call that era that we came out of is what is the parental culture. You have to be this model of perfection. And then we move from the parental culture into what I call the fusion culture, where we're kind of on the same level. And what we're now in is we're in the social media culture, for want of a better term, where the inmates are running the asylum, where we're not dictating to the culture how to be. They're dictating to us what they want. And what they want are a couple of things, whether you're doing radio imaging, you're doing any other kind of voice work, is they want the authenticity of who it is that you are. And so when you read those specs, that's why the script came to you. And too many people try to double down on that and become what it is you are. Be what it is you are. So you send in that spec read, the one that's, you know, more descriptive of what they think they want, what they'll probably wind up with, and then you make sure you send one in that has just a little something unique and special and different about you. It's not something that you pull out of the air. It's something very organic, and we're going to demonstrate that. And whether someone's reading a commercial script or they're reading an imaging script, the observation of the technique is the same. Acting, and I'm a classically trained actor and director, acting boils down to two words: as if. But that as if can be very challenging, because you got a lot of noise going on here of should, and supposed to, and want to, and fear, and doubt that keeps you from getting to as if. And that's why the training of an actor takes so long, because it's a therapeutic process. And the description of training an actor is, oh, by the way, you're all actors. If no one's told you that, you are. The minute you're saying words that aren't yours, you're performing. And I don't care if you're a preacher or a politician or anybody else who does presentational, CEO of a company and you have speech writers, whatever, you're on. And you're on as a version of you who does that. I remember saying to an actor I was working with, I said, you know, the cruel joke about voice work is that they really just want you. And he goes, oh my God, if that was the case, I would never have become an actor. I became an actor to disappear. But what the culture wants now from their spokespeople is to appear, to show up, warts and all. Because what we're acknowledging is we're all flawed and defective, and that's what creates affinity. Like me, like you, like me. So the more you can get on this level with your audience rather than this, or rather than a judgment of what you're doing, the more you can be in what I call the zone. The zone is where you stop watching yourself do your work and you are pulled into your story with your audience. And you all know that. It's when you stop. There are three judgments I have, or 3 barometers for the work. The first is stop time. Are we getting uncomfortable? We have to fill that time, don't we? Especially if you come out of radio, no dead air, no dead air. The most powerful thing an actor can do on stage is nothing. So orchestrating and really using your timing pulls your audience in. And that keeps you from having to work so hard. The #1 note, and I'm going to give it to everybody now, and some of you have worked with me for years. I haven't heard anybody read today, have I? You're working too hard. You're working too hard. Men do it to slay the dragon, women do it to prove they belong. It's the same, you wind up in the same place. You're working too hard. The work is the preparation, and the actual delivery is allowing the work to flow through you. And whether it's an imaging piece or it's something for an IMAX film, doesn't matter. It's about your relationship to the material, which is why I'm able to work in different languages. I've worked right now, I think, in 15 different languages, none of which I speak. More a nodding acquaintance with French. But when I was in Italy, a client of mine who was in Canada, I mean, it was very, very strange geography, how it all worked out. She's first generation Italian in Canada. Anyway, she put a group together and she said they all speak English. Well, what wound up, the truth was, they could order a meal in a restaurant. But as far as doing a credible read, their accents and their familiarity with the language wasn't there. And I said, well, you're here, I'm here, read it in Italian. And all of a sudden they came alive. And then went back to English with a confidence they didn't have. So one of the things that gives you the confidence, whether you had a great upbringing or not so great upbringing, you're an expert on your life. And elements from that can inform whatever it is you're doing. Because the authenticity of you telling the truth about some experience from your life. So let's, oops.
No, there's, believe it or not, that's a little restaurant down there, and they close down about now, and then we don't have anything sold.
Oh, I see. This is I got it.
Yeah.
I just thought it was a message from the Lord. Okay, to get my affairs in order. So at the base of your brain is what's called the limbic brain. That's the most primitive brain. I call it your brat. Your brat is your 5-year-old who has to tell the truth. And this is where your creativity lives. So when you're preparing a read, again, I don't care whether it's liners for a station or it's something, very grand and very lofty, you have to plug into some aspect of your own life that you can relate to while telling me using those words. So these words don't matter. This part of your brain doesn't speak English. It speaks emotion. It speaks feeling. It speaks authenticity. And what we'll see as we go through some of the material, what I'm doing right now is I'm probably overwhelming you with a lot of conceptual thoughts, and you go, I don't know what to do with that. Okay, we're going to start demonstrating that. But I just wanted to lay some pipe and give you an understanding that the work I do has to do with your relationship to the material in relationship to yourself. It's very personal. It is personal. And the more personal it is, the more you will relate to that audience that demands two things from you. First of all, who are you and where do you stand? Every company now is sending out what's called anthem scripts. They're asking for you to tell the world how they feel about stuff, what their charities are, what their stand is, whether it's the environment or healthcare or whatever. Every company, everybody on the planet now has to have a commitment to something larger than themselves, because the generation that you're speaking to, first of all, those who can hire you, and who they want to speak to mostly, have that demand. That's their ethos. So it's the anthem, and the other is fun. This is a generation that just wants to have fun. Why? Because it's scary out there. They're growing up with a lot of pressure, a lot of debt, a lot of uncertainty. Look at the commercials that are running now. They completely break the structure of the time-honored way of building an ad. They don't give you a setup or a claim. They don't give you the benefit package, the call to action, and the close, which is the classic. What they do is they show you a vignette that is mostly nonsensical, that has nothing to do with insurance or fast food, and then they super the title and they have a tag. And what they're doing basically is saying, we're the fun people you can get your food from. We're the fun people you can buy a car from. It's fun to buy a car. Look at where that word fun shows up everywhere. So, it's not ha-ha fun. It's I don't want to grow up. It's a resistance to growing up. And that's why advertising is speaking and buying into that psychology, because that's the demographic who's making up their lives, making the choices of where they're going to live and what they're going to buy and how they're going, where they're going to go for dinner and what car they're going to drive. As you move through life, you kind of got your stuff. There's a tendency, if you like the car you're driving, you buy another one of the same brand. Whereas the demographic, which is Generation Y into Generation Z, are still figuring it out. And what they're looking for is a reason to have an affinity to the company, or to the business, or to the television show, or to the station. What is it that is drawing me to that station? What is it? Because a lot of stations play the same music. So what is the psychology and the identity? And that's up to you. That's your responsibility. Your personality is the personality of the station, or the show, or the contest. So it's not like you telling me about something that you're separate from. It's something that you are the identity of. Well, it's helpful if you actually know what that is. And so many people will say, well, I don't know what my signature is. And I said, well, how do people recognize you when you call them? How do they know it's you? That's where you begin. When you're talking to someone that you're close to, that's your authentic self, hopefully. So that's the way. So if anything, record yourself and hear yourself back. What do you sound like when you're not on? Because that's what they want now. So, how many people actually have a piece of material you'd like to work with that you brought? No. Oh, Chris, you get a star. It's on your phone. Fine. Well, we'll start with you. Now, I have all kinds of material here. I have commercial, this imaging, which you guys gave me for Nashville, I think, so it's a lot of country and stuff. So I'm just going to, there's no real place to put it here where you can kind of sift through it. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what it is. There's always some value to be gained. You can always learn from something. The most important thing about the group is that when you're watching me work, let's say with Chris, he's going into a subjective mode. You're going into an objective mode where you can see what he's experiencing better than he can. So then someone else will read and he will get the same experience. That's why when people say to me, well, should I just work with you privately or come to a seminar? And I go, they're uniquely different. The seminar is objective and subjective learning. The private coaching is all subjective. So one feeds the other. But the ability to see somebody else who you may have heard of, I mean, as I said, we have, I think everybody here is a superstar. To see them get an adjustment, hopefully you go, okay, there is no secret sauce. It's just aligning your thoughts to the way that the culture wants to hear from you now, and you having the courage to show up as you are, who you are authentically. So remember, the two mantras are anthem and fun. I love distilling thoughts down to bite-sized little packets you can take back to your caves.
Layers.
Yeah, and actually put into action. And another is, and you can't be working with headphones right now, which is a thrill to me. Lose the headphones. Lose the headphones. And at first, it's going to be unsettling. But if you hear a pop, or you hear a mispronunciation in the middle of a read, what are you going to do? You're going to stop? Why? The rest of the read could be fine, you could drop it in. But you're giving your read a half-life by doing that. If you're more than halfway through the script, finish it out. And part of it is, you don't want to overreact to the fact that, you pop, so what? But you can always play it back. So going from subjective to objective within the work that you're doing is going to help you get more of an understanding of who that is, who he or she is, as opposed to hearing yourself through the headphones, because you're plugged into your inner critic, and your inner critic never congratulates you. And after a while, you're fighting with yourself. And and you send it in because you have to send it in rather than that works. If the hairs on your arm rise, that's your body doing this. So it doesn't have to be something emotional or sentimental, it's synergy. It's your body saying, atta girl, atta guy. Okay, Chris, we're gonna use you to start, and then I'm just gonna send out copy, pick something. If you wanna play, let me know. If you just wanna be observer, do that too. So you're going to come in the booth, and I'm going to work with you there, and you're just you guys will let me know if you can hear out here. And this is where the rubber meets the road. I could keep going. Okay. You want to just? Is there a person in there? Okay.
Ready, Kim?
My legs are still sore. Here's the thing, like yesterday, I just like barely walked upstairs, like downstairs.
Test.
Whoa. Survived.
Test. You don't need to say it.
Hey, Neil.
For radio. Improv. Okay, it's a script that actually got translated. We're going to
It's too loud.
It gets crazy watching.
Yeah, easy. No worries, man.
Radio people, we do the lobby, right?
Yeah, that's what I
So let's switch back to the room mic. Attention streamers, we're switching back to the room microphone now.
I know. They only booked me for
I'm not saying right or wrong.
Hey Chris, we can't hear anymore. pretty good at that. Yeah.
Oh, it's the gate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll do this. Okay. Okay, whenever you're ready.
Listen to the Blood Party Weekend at home and get full streaming rewards credit with your Amazon smart speaker by downloading the KSLX app and enabling Alexa skills on the app. Then you just say, Alexa, play KSLX. The Blood Party Weekend kicks off at 3 p.m. Friday, and you'll have a bunch of chances to win Santana tickets. The Block Party Weekend is powered by Earnhardt Auto Centers Noble.com on the Valley's classic rock station, 100.7 KSLX.
Okay, so you got a bulletin from your critic in the middle of this, which was something that you heard and didn't like. Okay. So do your best not to interrupt yourself, and even if you tripped over, we're just doing a pickup, and so no one died. Okay, so let's run it again, and then I'll give you a note.
Listen to the Block Party Weekend at home and get full streaming rewards credit with your Amazon smart speaker by downloading the KSLX app and enabling Alexa skills on the app. Then you just say, Alexa, play KSLX. The Block Party Weekend kicks off at 3 p.m. Friday, and you'll have a bunch of chances to win Santana tickets. The Block Party Weekend is powered by Earnhardt Auto Centers Noble.com on the Valley's classic rock station, 100.7 KSLX.
So we heard the message that time more because you saw it.
Well, I went through it twice.
That's right. That's right. So give yourself the opportunity to become familiar with the material to a point where you have ownership. Okay. So do you have Alexa at home?
No, I think she's always listening, and it's,
So.
And I also read this one line. They just, so radio, everybody knows, radio has started this because nobody listens on the radio, now it's streaming. So they're pushing Alexa, Sonos, Google Home, whatever. And this station has, every promo now has this same line, enable Alexa skills, then just say Alexa. And it's like, it's starting to get, and the producer knows it. I was like, man, if I say this line one more time, just shoot. And he was like, yeah, I know. But, you know, it's like, it's tough to do it over and over.
Every time you're saying that line to someone who's never heard it.
Yes.
Okay. Oh, really? I can do that.
Yeah.
See?
But for us, and I've always said this, and like program directors are like, oh man, that sweeper's fried, change it. And I'm like, dude, you listen to the station all the time. The person who's listening, you've heard it 20 times.
Yes.
Half the people that listen to the station never heard it.
That's right.
So.
Or if they've heard it, well, the performer has said it, but it hasn't been delivered because the performer has checked out. So in this case, somebody who doesn't have this option is now being told they do. Okay? And it's a good thing because you don't want to lose them as a listener. Okay.
You're Listen to the Block Party Weekend at home and get full streaming rewards credit with your Amazon smart speaker by downloading the KSLX app and enabling Alexa skills on the app. Then you just say, Alexa, play KSLX. The Block Party Weekend kicks off at 3 p.m. Friday, and you'll have a bunch of chances to win Santana tickets. The Block Party Weekend is powered by Earnhardt Auto Centers Noble.com on the Valley's classic rock station, 100.7 KSLX.
Did we? You felt it?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
When you do that stuff, like it.
That thing I do, yes. Okay. So that's why you call me.
Absolutely.
For inspiration. Remember, if it matters to you, it will matter to us. Most people are sending in work and auditions where you're just making noise with your mouth. And it's white noise out there, rather than understanding who this is for. Just, it's corny in a way, who, what, why, where, when. But you need it to keep it fresh. And that one was.
That's why I picked this copy, because this copy is just like all the other copy.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I have a
First
client
time.
who was in the national tour of Phantom of the Opera for 10 years. 8 performances a week. He had like a 2-week vacation here and there. And I said to him, how do you do it? And first of all, he was what's called a swing, so he knew all the male roles. So from time to time, he did different roles.
Yeah.
But it was the same play. And as much as I love the show, and I've seen it 8 times because we've run into each other in different cities, yeah, he did it hundreds of times. And I said, how do you do it? And he said, every night when I'm putting on my makeup, I remind myself that since I left my university, I have been continuously employed as a musical theater actor the entire time. I've never had to have any other kind of job. And he said, that inspires me. And I said, that and the fact that it's always opening night for the audience. It's always the first time for the person who's listening to you. And therefore, you're dedicated to them understanding what the benefit is of this. Okay, so you don't have Alexa because you think she's fine. She probably is.
And I don't need that kind of help.
Okay, okay. Well, what's like Alexa that you have as a new toy?
Siri is on a phone, and the only time I ever use Siri is I hit the button and say 5-minute timer. Because I need to know it so I don't burn my hamburgers or whatever.
Oh,
I like to cook.
Just cook. Okay, all right. So, in your mind, it's Siri. Let's do it again.
Listen to the Block Party Weekend at home and get full streaming rewards credit with your Amazon smart speaker by downloading the KSLX app and enabling Alexa skills on the app. Then you just say, Alexa, play KSLX. The Block Party Weekend kicks off at 3 p.m. Friday, and you'll have a bunch of chances to win Santana tickets. The Block Party Weekend is powered by Earnhardt Auto Center's NoBull.com on the Valley's classic rock station, 100.7 KSLX.
Okay.
Who's next?
Nobody else stood up, so I figured I would go.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Let's not all jump to attention at once.
Right. Okay. Louisiana.
Or San Francisco, depending on who you ask.
Oh, okay, so do you sit or stand when you do?
I stand. It's awkward for me to stand.
Okay, then stand, and we can, that's what
Hey, buddy.
that string is.
I didn't see you over there. I mean, until I stood up.
Okay.
The reason you stand, talking to the microphone.
I know what to do. The reason you stand is this is a wind instrument, and when you're sitting down, you're collapsing, and you're not really accessing the full potential. And that's one of the reasons why you work so hard, because you're not really supporting the delivery. The true voice is here, and if you're collapsing on the true voice. I'll demonstrate the true voice in a minute. Go ahead.
You don't know where your story leads or how it ends. What you do know is the part you play in and the plans you have for it. Your story is your own. Wherever it takes you, it also follows you. It's not about knowing what will happen. It's about knowing that anything can. You know when it's HBO.
They're not telling you.
Right.
They're telling you the world that they live in. Okay? So, those pauses, is that for sound bites?
I assume just the way that it's written that there's
Okay.
something that all
Don't make those such big gaps because you lose your momentum.
Okay.
Okay? And are you an HBO fan?
I am.
Okay. What's your favorite show right now?
My wife and I are watching The Case of Adnan Syed currently.
Okay, and what is it about that show?
I like the documentary style that you get from HBO. And it was a very engaging podcast as well. I'm engaged in the story.
Okay, read.
You don't know where your story leads or how it ends. What you do know is the part you play in and the plans you have for it. Your story is your own. Wherever it takes you, it also follows you. It's not about knowing what will happen. It's about knowing that anything can. You know when it's HBO.
Okay, so if we were doing a directed audition, I tell you to say that. Now I'm going to give you an alternative.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
So the way you do this.
I'm doing that. Let's do it.
So this is where this was. This is the gateway to college. Most people are speaking from here up because that way you can hide. But this is the authenticity. So the way, and this is the only speech pathology I do, the way to get into your true voice, your chest voice, is to do what I call the following. So I'll demonstrate. And I don't have a very strong voice myself, so I always say, if I can do it, you can do it. And it is this. So it actually sounds like a foghorn, but you see how it's softened the edges of my voice, and my voice is coming from here rather than here. My mother was hard of hearing, and people who are hard of hearing tend to speak from here up. They can't hear themselves, and you tend to imitate the voice you go around. But if I take my own coaching, it would be and then right from there it's me. So you want to do the foghorn, and you cut the volume and play them off a little closer.
You don't know where your story leads or how it ends. What you do know is the part you play in it and the plans you have for it. Your story is your own. Wherever it takes you, it also follows you. It's not about knowing what will happen. It's about knowing that anything can. You know when it's HBO.
So that's closer to the point of view now. Because HBO doesn't do files, and it doesn't do programming. It's not, it's not TV. This is different. It's much more sophisticated. Okay.
Good?
I'll get it right by the end of the session.
Nailed that slide.
Okay. Again, by the end of the session, we'll have this right. So, the other is knowing the world that your station or your channel or whatever the message is, know the world that it lives in. Know the attitude and the style, because that tells you how to dress for the part. So the first read you did was a very lovely read for CBS. The second one was an HBO read. I mean, if you're interested in promo or you're doing promo, it's the most complex area of all voice work. One of the reasons I find it endlessly fascinating, and I love it, because every single day is a challenge. Are they changing their branding? Are they, is a new production director coming? Different shows, different ways of referring to themselves. It keeps you on your toes. The most important thing is when you get a script, go to the internet and do some research and see where they are today. Don't immediately assume that you know who a network or a station or a product is. Because part of why they're sending you a script might be that they're changing their direction or expanding the brand in some way. Stay on top of it. It keeps you interested and it keeps you refreshed. Also, by constantly feeding your body of information about your work with new angles to play.
Thank you.
Someone else? I just remind, I know, I do that. And remind me when I leave to give it back to my husband.
Atlanta? I was in DC.
What are you doing? What is it you're doing?
Spot for Nebraska.
Okay, all right, whenever you're ready. Do you usually stand when you work?
I usually sit.
Okay, let's see what the difference is. Stand first and, sit first.
Sit first and stand.
So So just do 2 reads.
A little wandering, a little wondering, and a lot of making it up as you go along. There's something honest about a place that gives you credit for making your own way in the world. It may not be for everyone, but for those with a pioneering spirit, Nebraska couldn't be more inviting. A little wandering, a little wondering, and a lot of making it up as you go along. There's something honest about a place that gives you credit for making your own way in the world. It may not be for everyone, but for those with a pioneering spirit, Nebraska couldn't be more inviting.
Okay, so distinctly different reads, and it would be up to the creative group, which is the imponderable. But just standing and sitting gives you the alternatives. Have you been to Nebraska?
No, never.
Okay. Would you like to go?
I would, actually.
Okay. What is it about them that is intriguing to you?
Just the farms and, I don't know, I think they have a bunch of fresh veggies, food would be really fresh there.
Okay.
Great, great restaurants, really nice people, friendly people.
Read.
A little wandering, a little wondering, and a lot of making it up as you go along. There's something honest about a place that gives you credit for making your own way in the world. It may not be for everyone, but for those with a pioneering spirit, Nebraska couldn't be more inviting.
The controlling idea jumped out that time. What was the controlling idea? What's the word? Honest. And it was his honest interest in going there that allowed his Brad to deliver the read properly. There is always a word that is what's called in dramaturgy the controlling idea. And what that word does is it tells you how to dress for the party. So find that word. If you're stumped on how to read something, find that word. Sometimes that word is outside the copy. It's what it's standing for. But once you find that word, you don't have to figure out how to read it. That's how to read it. It's really that simple. And you can move very quickly that way. The other is to find a line at the end of the copy, because usually when you're reading, especially for the first time, it takes you a while to drop into the zone. And so a lot of times you don't hit your zone, but the producer's already gone on to the next read because you're running your career on 3 seconds. So that the way that you want to do your work is to do it in a loop, so that you're coming in on the crest of a wave. You're coming in already in the zone rather than having to get into the zone because you'll hit it, but the producer's gone. Same thing when I produce demos. You know, we've got to grab them in the first 3 seconds. Nebraska.
So are you saying that so I should start, if I did another read, I would start with, and we did a little bit of this last night, I would start with Nebraska couldn't be more inviting, and then start the script.
Good. Put one hand in your pocket, okay. Cross your ankles. More like you're leaning. Okay, let's go.
And read the Nebraska couldn't be more inviting first? Okay. Nebraska couldn't be more inviting. A little wandering, a little wondering, and a lot of making it up as you go along. There's something honest about a place that gives you credit for making your own way in the world. It may not be for everyone, but for those with a pioneering spirit, Nebraska couldn't be more inviting.
By changing his physical stance, you've changed the read. Change something, and you'll change your mind. Change something, and you'll change your mind. So if you've been saying the same line, Chris, forever, sit or stand, lean against the wall, put your fingertips in your pockets, fold your arms, perfect. He's shooting 2 birds. Okay, it's what most imaging is anyway. Okay, thank you. Okay. Jen, we need some feminine energy here.
Hello. So I have some imaging. I've never worked on imaging with you ever before, so.
Okay, I love this. I like to help people discover freshness.
let's face it, the name of this event is Keeping It Fresh.
Keeping It Fresh.
Yeah, so let's see. How long have you been doing radio imaging?
Full time for almost 25 years.
OMG.
But
okay.
yeah, but longer than that. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, you don't usually stand like that.
I do. No, not like this, but I do stand in my booth. But
okay.
yeah.
Can you kick off your shoes?
Yeah, I'd love to.
Yeah. Now you're grounded.
Now I am.
There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So just let me hear whatever you
I
want.
just got a simple sweeper here. It's you know kind of stuff I read every day, so I thought probably best to work on.
Whenever you
All right. Get ready for all those pics of your friends' kids crying with the Easter Bunny. 107.5 The River. Live life, love music. Get ready for all those pics of your friends' kids crying with the Easter Bunny. 107.5 The River. Live life, love music. Get ready for all those pics of your friends' kids crying with the Easter Bunny. 107.5 The River. Live life, love music.
Are you a mom?
I am.
And how old?
And I literally have a picture of my daughter sitting with bunnies in her diaper, falling her head off. Get ready for all those pics of your friends' kids crying with the Easter Bunny. 107.5 The River. Live life, love music.
Yeah. Did we love it?
Yeah.
What did you bring in?
Okay, I just grabbed this thing.
Okay.
Want to just go for it?
Have you looked it over?
I have.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Streaming. But not just any streaming. It's everybody's on the couch and you're still watching what you want to watch streaming. It's 200 miles to grandma's and you're not missing the live game streaming. It's 200 miles to grandma's and you're not missing the moment streaming. It's get the most free on-demand movies and shows streaming. It's streaming fast and streaming better with Xfinity that makes your life easy. Simple, easy, awesome.
Nice. Oh, good. And that also would book the job. I'm telling you, they will go on table scraps because they're hearing the same piece of copy over and over again, and people are dutifully doing the specs, and after a while they go into ear fatigue too. And then someone comes along and does awesome, and they go, she's our girl. She's our girl. So one of the things I'll do in the seminars is I have people read the same piece of copy, and then we play it back. Because that frame of reference is the game you're playing. You just don't know it because you're not hearing other people read. And that's a different game. Because when you're playing that game, you have to find a way of standing out rather than just being a good soldier in terms of the specs. It's being the good soldier on the spec read, and then what is it that is enough different to grab their attention with your personality, with your permission to play. Remember that word, fun. What's the most important word in this?
Streaming. No. No.
What's the difference when they give you the streaming? What is it that you get? Fast.
Fast.
That tells you how to dress for the party. So it has to be quicker. Okay?
Yeah. Try quickie.
Yeah.
Quickie. Well, it's too early for that. Okay. Streaming, but not just any streaming. It's everybody's on the couch and you're still watching what you want to watch streaming. It's 200 miles to grandma's and you're not missing the live game streaming. It's 200 miles to grandma's and you're not missing the moment streaming. It's get the most free on-demand movies and shows streaming. It's streaming fast and streaming better from Xfinity that makes your life easy. Simple, easy, awesome.
Okay, slow down. Yeah, you got a bulletin. You got a bulletin, you questioned something.
I did, yeah, it was got in my head. I
Yes.
started, yeah.
And I can tell you exactly where.
Okay.
It was when you went into the cell.
Okay, yep, yeah, that's exactly right.
Take the cell.
Yep.
And what will happen is that in that place, you'll back off. Because the beginning and the end are fun. The brat loves the fun.
But you have to stay consistent because that's the most important section for your listener. Because you're asking them to either reinforce something they're doing and be right about it, or change. And change is scary, so they need all those details. So make sure you're committed to consistency all the way through. When you listen to playback, make sure there's no dropout into a slightly disengaged part of you by virtue of the fact that you're in the cell. The cell is why we are listening. Sounds good, but now I'm going to do something really scary. I'm going to buy another cereal. And either my own critic is going to say, what are you buying that for? Or when I get home, somebody else will ask me, what'd you buy that for? And then I have to parrot back those benefits so I don't look like an idiot. It sounds ridiculous, but this is the noise that goes through our head day in and day out. And our marketing and advertising, whether it's for a radio station or it's for a certain album or for a certain concert, you still have to give people a reason and a justification for doing what you're recommending that they do. Help them do what you want. The call to action isn't enough, it's the intention. And the intention is you will benefit in some way. You'll look good. You'll feel good. Ultimately, we're not in the voice business. We're not in the imaging business. We're in the feeling business. How am I going to feel if I do what she's suggesting? If I get this faster connection, I'll feel smarter. I'll feel cooler. So that gives you also another way of reading. You want to feel cool? You want to feel smart? Get this. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maurice.
We are over time. If people want to keep going, I'm here until they turn the lights out. Come on. Obviously, the cafe is already left, so. Hi.
Good to see you again.
Yes.
So I have a commercial script.
Yes. Okay. What took you so long?
Well, I had to drive 3 hours to the airport, and then I had to fly to the hours and get a connection. Yeah, a little bit.
Because sometimes people will talk about what it is, where they're from or something, because it's not as cool as they think other people places are. Okay, what's cool about where you're from?
It's the home of Little League World Series.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, and just lifestyle-wise?
Very, very country, rural, mountainous for Pennsylvania terms.
Okay, okay. Your self-image is very important. If you're apologizing for anything about yourself, you're diminishing your delivery. So, if you don't like where you're living, or you don't like the life you're living, try and find something that you do like until you can, or if you want to change. You have to be in a positive state of mind in order to encourage someone else. And a lot of people have hid behind their sound for years because what it sounds like, especially from radio and from imaging, I've often said that the genre, imaging and radio and all of that, is like weightlifting, where they're standing in front of the mirror, they're looking at what it looks like. More and more, voice work in general is becoming more like ice skating, where it's an applied art. It's physical, it's demanding, and it's creative, but ultimately it's telling a story. Weightlifting isn't telling a story. Ice skating is. So you're skaters, or you're gymnasts. Something that combines the artistry of movement with the physicality of it. That's what you do every day. So see yourself that way, as creative artists, not just machines pumping out a sound. Okay.
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop, and chances are you'll be enjoying your cappuccino with some of the young professionals making their mark in the region's burgeoning tech industry.
That's a very long sentence. It's not written,
No.
it's spoken. But in acting, we have something called beats.
Yes.
The little bite-sized nuggets of thought. How many beats are in that first sentence?
Oh, there's 3 or 4.
Read it slowly.
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop,
Drop by.
and chances are you'll be
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop, which is different, right?
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop.
And
chances are, you'll be enjoying your cappuccino with some of the young professionals making their mark in the region's burgeoning tech industry.
that's like 6 beats. That's like a paragraph. Okay, so the other thing is to see what you're saying. You see the camera probing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And if you see it, we'll see it. All communication is visual. All communication is visual. I've worked with a variety of people who are sighted and not sighted, and the one who's been blind since birth, when I give him a note, you know what he says? Oh, I say Maurice, I say. Now, when he's on mic, he's standard American English, but when he's just being folks, and he's never seen anything, but he has the most vivid delivery I've ever heard, because everything is channeled into his speaking and his listening. But if the language of understanding is visual language, so give yourself pictures to read from. Don't just read the words off the page. You're just making noise with your mouth. Okay.
And it's funny, because as you're saying this, when I did this audition, I had this picture of a reclaimed industrial building that now houses a coffee house. This brick interior, very industrial lighting, and as the camera pans around, the next line talks about looking among them what they're like. And I'm imagining these young professionals with their laptops doing a little bit of work while they're having their coffee. Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop, and chances are you'll be enjoying your cappuccino with some of the young professionals making their mark in the region's burgeoning tech industry. It's hard to tell who among them is revolutionizing robots or pioneering autonomous vehicles, but those working at CNX to create the high-tech future of the natural gas economy are a little easier to pick out. CNX, we're not your typical Pittsburgh tech company.
Okay, so what's wrong with millennials? That really was bullshit.
Okay.
Yeah, you don't like them. Pretending to like them.
Well,
The company, like the coffee, and like the fact that they're good for business. What is it that, if they can hire you, by the way, these are the people who are hiring you. Okay.
Now I'm looking at it from the standpoint that those that work at CNX are a little different, because the CNX people are a little more blue collar than the rest of the patrons in the coffee shop.
Okay, now you got a whole other thing going on. Now you got a political revolution going on.
But that's what the way I interpreted the coffee was, at CNX, we're not your typical tech company. We're not the typical millennial types. We're a little bit looser.
See? Yeah, but the typical millennial types are who you're looking to attract.
Okay.
Okay, so what's good about them?
They are innovative.
Smart.
They're smart.
They get it before they get it.
Exactly.
And if you need help with your computer, you look for the youngest person in the coffee shop. Okay, go.
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop.
Stop smiling.
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop, and chances are you'll be enjoying your cappuccino with some of the young professionals making their mark in the region's burgeoning tech industry.
Too oily. You're still trying to be too nice.
Okay.
Simply tell me, why should I go to this coffee shop? And just share the thoughts with me, don't sell me.
Okay.
It's a tell, not a sell, by the way, now. It's a tell, not a sell. Just share the thoughts. You don't have to work it. You don't have to tap dance for me. We get it even faster now than ever before. Okay.
Drop by a Pittsburgh coffee shop, and chances are you'll be enjoying your cappuccino with some of the young professionals making their mark in the region's burgeoning tech industry. It's hard to tell who among them is revolutionizing robots, pioneering autonomous vehicles, but those working at CNX to create the high-tech future of the natural gas economy are a little easier to pick out. CNX, we're not your typical Pittsburgh tech company.
Okay, much better. Okay, thank you.
I wish I had this last bit.
From LA by way of Chicago, by way of Boston.
Yes. All.
Yes. That's why he wears a blazer.
Commercial.
He's from sophisticated cities.
I'll take that.
Okay.
He may become an architect, or maybe even a superhero. Heck, you'd settle for a toy cleaner. But one thing is certain, this 100% juice choice he made today will help lead to more healthy choices tomorrow. Mods, start strong.
Brilliant.
You may become an architect, or maybe even a superhero. Heck, you'd settle for a toy cleaner. But one thing is certain, this 100% juice choice he made today will help lead to more healthy choices tomorrow. Mods, start strong.
What's wrong with Lons?
Sugary juice.
Yeah, of course. And so, what would you rather have?
Butter.
Or, what's a nice beverage that you enjoy?
Cabernet.
There you go. Did you hear the difference?
Yeah.
The love. The voice is the mirror of the mind. If you actually allow yourself to hear how you naturally react to something, that's when you're ready to work. Okay, another question, but I'll get him ready to read. Okay, so tell me how Holly's doing.
Holly's doing great. This is my pit bull that pulled off the street a little over 6 years ago off Hollywood Boulevard. And she's doing great. She was anxious, shy, nervous dog. Didn't really like people that much. But she's become a lot more trusting and a lot more. My parents are just in town.
Okay.
And she's fantastic with them. Totally accepts them as part of the pack. She's just, it's so great to see her in her natural, just being herself, you know, where she doesn't have to worry about anything. She's not fearful. She can just, you know, she can smile on her face and everything. You know, she wasn't that way when I first got her. So.
Right. Read.
He may become an architect, or maybe even a superhero. Heck, you'd settle for a toy cleaner. But one thing is certain, this 100% juice choice he made today will help lead to more healthy choices tomorrow. Mods, start strong.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to come out now because we are over, and I don't know if are there any questions? Okay, let me come in. Can I come? I've got a long leash here, don't I?
Anybody else that come back in there?
Oh, but if I do
I think
this,
she's wrapping with the
yeah, they can hear you. Okay.
Well, thank you to all our many souls, and hopefully what you saw was, is your relationship to, first of all, to yourself, understanding, and being scrupulously honest, which each time I asked you a question about how you really felt about something, that's the key, that's the gateway to the authenticity that the social media audience is looking for. It's how do you really feel? Because we've got stuff too we could share. And it's that kind of level ground that they're looking for. That and what do you stand for? You know, I stand for integrity, I stand for whatever, and then fun, depending on the script. If you're doing something for healthcare, it may not be fun. But remember, everything you read is good news. You're in the good news business, because even if you're talking about a scary illness, you can help. We can help. There's a light at the end of the tunnel. And always read scary information from the point of view of the person who has the solution, not the person who's got the problem. We can do that on our own. We don't need you to reinforce how miserable we feel. But, you know, it's like my husband drank for 17 years and we were just miserable, as opposed to, my husband drank for 17 years and we were just miserable. Oh, but she doesn't sound like she's suffering now. That's the person I want to hear from. Okay, we have some questions?
Yeah, Maureen from DC wants to know what is the best way a perfect character reads, as in a foreign accent, sounding younger or older, etc.?
Well, you have to figure out who that person is. Give them a life, rather than just a sound and an attitude, because then it'll come out like a cliche. So let's say you're being asked to do a Brit, or you're being asked, you know, is she a shopkeeper? Does she work in an office? Give her a real life as well as the fact that she has the accent. That's it? Okay. Anybody here have any questions? Good. Okay. I've answered all your questions. Okay. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your week while you're here, and I'm around if you want to ask me something. This is a vast industry, lots of possibility. I don't care what anybody says about how it's all changed and blah, blah, blah. There's still tons of work out there. Go get it. Deb, did you want to share a thought or two?
There's a lot of work out there. It's
Yes.
just you have to do a lot more of it to make the money you used to make.
Yeah,
There's just a lot of little things, but it's very different.
Debbie invented the arena of voice manager 20-some years ago.
Almost 30 next year.
Oh my
I can't believe it.
And before that, she was an agent.
I was an
Before
agent
that,
for 10 years.
and a casting director.
For 3 years.
That's when we met. That's when we met. And the fact that she's even here today is kind of amazing because that office is humming all the time.
Yeah. Well, I have a really good team right now, and it's just really nice. And I can break away for something like this, and I do a lot of lunches. I go out with a lot of clients. Not as much with my talent, but with a lot of clients.
And one of the things that you said to me a while back, and it's something to keep in mind, is most people don't know how good has to be.
That's very true, and your competition is, competition out here right now is really strong. There's a lot of good players all over the country. It's not like when I started where I had only 10 people. And now, there is not a day that we are not submitted to. Not one day that we don't have talent from all over the world submitted to us now. So it's a whole other game out there. You have to continue to work on your craft. And you made one statement earlier, and I don't know the exact words you said, but it had to do with almost now you have to be multi-talented.
Yes.
And
Have a lot of chips on the table.
Yeah, a lot of chips on the table because it is a different game.
And those chips on the table are different versions of you. I'm designing websites now quite a bit, and because I feel that between the website, the demos, and the delivery, that's the three cornerstool of your career. And what we're talking about, the analogy I use is if you're going to go to Bloomingdale's, okay? Bloomingdale's is the banner. That's the signature of the experience you expect to have when you shop there. But once you get into the entryway, there are different pathways in which you can have the Bloomingdale's experience. So that's your career. You have the umbrella, you have the signature, you have the top note of how you see the world, which is what is unique, special, and different about you. Your point of view, and then your point of view in imaging, your point of view in commercial or any of the other areas. So that if we went to a retrospective of your work as an artist in a museum, we'd see the thread of your creative voice. That's what makes a superstar. The identifiability of the point of view as applied to, rather than you morphing like a character actor. You do character work, that's a whole different conversation. You design to disappear. In this work, you design to appear. The more courageous you can be, as we saw, the better. So cut loose a little too.
Yeah, and one year you might do really well in one genre, and then another year you might do well in commercial. It's up and down. It's just like the stock market, and I try to tell the talent that. One year you might have an incredible year, and then the next year maybe not. So you have to kind of plan ahead. It's changing all of the time, and it's changing rapidly. And that's the reason you have to be on the top of your game. Really, if you want to continue to work.
Yeah.
You can't sit back and think that, and I've seen this, and I've had a lot of talent work with Maurice over the years, and I've had talent who, we're talking making 7 figures, right? And then they get in, and you talked about the characterization of themselves. They begin to get into the mode of not connecting, and it's very dangerous. and
Imitating themselves.
imitating, and then, you know, as soon as I go, okay, it might take me a year to get that person to Maurice.
Mhm.
And then once they go, and I'm not just saying Maurice, but she is the best in the industry, we all know this. I mean, anybody that's worked with her knows this, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm telling the truth. I mean, I've had my people work with a lot of different people, but she's brilliant in her own way and insightful, and gets to the core of not just your read, but what's holding you back. Very
I call
important.
them speed
Very
bumps.
important, and yeah. And this
Speed
particular
bumps.
talent, each time I get him to go back, he starts booking again. I mean, each time, and this has been going on for way too long. And I'm like, why don't you do a check-in like every 6 months? Oh yeah. But I just worked with her 6 or 8 months ago. I'm going, no. It's been about a year.
Yeah, I often say, that was a good meal. Aren't you starving by now?
Yeah.
When's the last time you had a nice meal?
Yeah. So anyway, I think just continuing to work on if you want to do animation, you work with an animation person. Right? In anything we do, we have to deal in specifics. And anyway, that's sort of my spiel. It's a great business. I love it. It's the reason I'm still doing it. I love marketing and managing talent. I have, it makes me happy, and I love seeing people's careers grow. And anyway, we're in a great community. And I think you probably all know that, compared to theatrical. You know, or one of my sons was in theatrical for a while. He's now a writer and he's doing well, but that's not as, the people aren't as generous.
No, it's palace politics.
Yeah, it's very different. But this community is very generous with each other. And it's a beautiful thing.
Because it's about talent.
Yeah.
You know, the other areas of acting can be very superficial and cool, because there's a half-life to how long someone can be a star.
Yeah.
And here, I often say, I know most people's goal is to go out slumped over a microphone.
Yeah.
So let's just keep it going as long as we can.
Peter Thomas was doing Burger King commercials at 85, 90 years old.
I think he was 92.
He died when he was 92.
Yeah.
But in the last 7 years of his life, he did ESPN promos, Burger King commercials. I mean, that's what I want to do. I want to go out and
You bet.
bring cowboys.
Absolutely.
Well, and you guys can.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of this business. You can work it as much or as little as you want. It's a wonderful business, and do it anywhere, which wasn't the way it was when I started in this business. We're not going to go back out.
Actually, it isn't that far when you think about it.
Right? No, but I mean, when you think about, SBV didn't have a fax machine at one point.
Or CED's first talent demo was on a 78 record.
That's very true. That's very true.
Oh my God.
Yeah. I think Bob Lloyd has a copy.
Probably. And Carol O'Connor was on there. He played it for a seminar, and it was, hello, my name is Carol O'Connor, and I'm an actor.
Yeah.
And today it will be,
Yeah.
Goodbye. Yeah. So we have come a long way in a very short time, I think. But everything accelerates. Everything is compacting. So you really have to stay on top of it. And the thing is that I like that. I like staying alert and not phoning it in. The minute you feel that you're phoning it in, shake it up. Take the dog for a walk.
And there is burnout in this business
Yes.
too. I've seen a lot of burnout in the business, and it's
And I think
unfortunate.
imaging can do it to you because it's so incredibly repetitious and also very physical. You're exhausted at the end of the day for imaging, so you have to fill up the well. And I don't care if it's to go to an art, a museum or go to a concert. Just shift your energy, re-inspire yourself. But nothing inspires you more than listening to your demos. It's a quick way to refresh the fact, hey, I am pretty good.
And talking about demos, there was a period a couple of years ago where I have to say that demos were not being used like they are now. And we're getting a lot more requests. We send in a lot more requests of demos than as opposed to, and from the demos, they're saying they're picking the people they want to get. Now that was not going on a couple of years ago.
I'm getting that a lot now.
Huh?
Send your demo.
Yes,
Exactly.
in
I'm like,
Canada.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's going on
Yeah.
a lot more, and then they'll make the decision that way.
Yeah,
So-
in Canada they call them demo recs, demo requests.
Uh-huh.
They're not sending out the auditions, they're asking for these people's demos, and from the demos they book the job.
We're doing a lot
So
more of that.
you don't have that many tools.
It's kind of nice knowing that they're asking for the demos.
They are
That's
asking.
considering how much
It's
we
good if
spend
your
on
demo's
it.
You
good.
bet, might as well. But yeah, I mean, and the main thing is you don't have that many tools. Make sure every one of them is working as hard for you as possible. And don't allow it to expire. If you've got a date, like, I'll go to an agency site to listen to someone who's about to work with me, and I hear in his read, the 2007 Dodge. What? First of all, shame on the agent for living that long, but they don't refresh it. But it's up to you. First of all, if you're reporting anything that has a date in it, edit it out. Give it a shelf life. Because otherwise, it's only good for not even a year. How long is the new good for? 6 months. That's the legal amount of time you can say new, and then you have to change something. So, your demos expire pretty quickly unless you really monitor it. The narration demo has the longest shelf life, and then it's a race to the finish. The one that has the shortest shelf life, we haven't even talked about it, but it's trailer. There's such a small amount. We're talking a sliver of the pie now as far as the trailer is concerned. Don't put a trailer demo together until you're awesome and you're with the right agent and or manager or both. You have to have a pathway to the opportunities, otherwise the investment is not worth it. And if, there are tons of people teaching now trailer, and I'm thinking, where do they think they're going with this? It's a very, very narrow corridor. Debbie represents, trailer. But even within your roster, there are some people that still like more opportunity, and you have to fight for it.
Well, and there isn't as much.
Yeah.
Because you're seeing the business, besides the big movies, you're seeing the business small. It just isn't the way it was 5 years ago, 4 years ago.
But promo,
And the budgets are small.
And promo, though, because every time you turn around, there are 15 new venues for programming, whether it's Amazon or Hulu or whatever. So
and a show comes and goes much quicker than it used to. You might get on a show and you might only get 6 shows, or it might get canceled at 3. You don't know. Very seldom are they going into, where you're having a lot of shows being bought right now.
I'm working with someone, he sent me his promo demo, and he said, if there's stuff on there we can use. So of the 9 cuts, I have to take off 6. And it's not that old, but those shows have expired. And there's a life that the show has from first run to not being on the air anymore, to going into syndication or going repurposed. And if you've got it in the middle, then you're dating your demo. So any show that got canceled that's not coming back this season shouldn't be on your demo for a while until it shows up somewhere else. So your demos are organic. They have to reflect the time, the tone of the times, and you. I mean, even if you listen to your demo from 2 years ago, you're a different version of you now, which should be a good thing. So keep on running. So feel free to socialize and enjoy whatever food is left or whatever, and probably see you around this week after Christmas.
I was in there. There was a woman at the Atlas party this past year. There was a wedge of cheese, and when the party was over, she took that wedge of cheese